Okay, finally we're hitting the home stretch here on Thursday. Great to have Veronica here on the show, co-hosting. It's her first time co-hosting.
My first time. I'm
Pretty
loving
good
it.
show, right?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
And now we got Chris Birkett joining us here, and well, you guys were talking about. So you're a vegetarian or a vegan?
No, I've been a vegetarian for 40 years.
Yeah.
I worked on, in between gigs, I'm a musician, right?
Yeah.
In between gigs, I was living in Devon, in the west of England, and I was signed to a record company. Tony Visconti signed my band, and we had a big deal, make multi-album deal.
What was your band called?
Omaha Sheriff.
Omaha
Sheriff.
Omaha Sheriff.
Omaha as in Nebraska, and Sheriff.
But it's kind of like
it's a
Omar
word.
Sharif,
Yeah, it's a word play.
Omar Sharif.
Exactly, yeah, it's a word play. Yeah. So we had a good band. I mean, we're playing like Genesis stuff, but 10 levels above that. It's really great music. Yeah, I'll play sometime. I've got it on me. So anyway, the deal fell through after a couple of years, as it did. So we found ourselves living in the country with no money and no prospects. So I went to my neighbour was a farmer. He used to do milk and sheep, all sorts of dairy stuff, pigs and everything, chickens. And so I went to work for him. I used to milk 150 cows every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I kind of enjoyed it because I like animals,
Yeah.
But I decided one morning I was tipping out all these pellets, in the food troughs when the cows come in. And they come in to be milked to go in a herringbone building. And they start eating all these little pellets. And I thought, I wonder what's in those pellets. So I started reading the packet and I was horrified.
Wow, what was in it?
It was full of hormone growth stimulants and tetracycline, which is an antibiotic.
Right.
And in addition to that, when the cows were coming from the field, if they caught one of their udders on a barbed wire fence, you'd squirt this kind of antibiotic cream up inside the thing. And then, of course, they come in, 12 hours later for the next milking, and then that just gets pumped straight into the milk.
So you were right there. So you saw what was really going on.
Yeah, I was so horrified. And then I went in a battery chicken house, and there were rows and rows of cages stacked on top of each other, about that big, with 5 chickens in each one, with no feathers because they're all just trying to. The feathers just went because they're trying to get, rubbing against each other, trying to move, and they were eating all day. They were pumped with chemicals. So
this is what we're eating afterwards,
well,
right?
at that time I went completely nothing, non-dairy. I just thought I don't trust. I asked the farmer. I said, why are you giving the animals all these chemicals? And he said, well, I can't get a license to produce my products. My contract states I have to give them these food supplements. So I just
Government.
So I just thought, well, this is Ministry of Agricultural policy, and there's obviously no way you're going to change it at that time. So I thought the best thing I can do is just give it up. I'll just stop eating meat, stop eating dairy, stop eating everything. I went to... Many years later, I moved to France. I bought a chateau in the south of France because I was selling lots of records and making millions of dollars, as you could in those days, in the early 90s. And but I couldn't get anything to eat in France. It's really difficult. Every time I went to a restaurant, I said, "Je mange pas de viande. Je suis végétarien." They would look at me like I was an extraterrestrial. I said, "Mais tu manges légumes, monsieur? But you eat vegetables? Do you eat vegetables?" Yes, of course, but when you get a salad from a French restaurant, if there's no, like meat or pork or something in it, it's really, really boring.
Well, because the French believe, you can fix any dietary issue with a little red wine.
Well,
and cheese
that
and
helps.
bread. bread.
My house is in Bordeaux, so that's why I was surrounded by vineyards, so I did enjoy some of the wines. Yeah. In fact, one of my friends made organic wine. He had an interesting technique. He had acres of vineyards, and he tried an experiment by cordoning off the vineyards into packets of land and playing different types of music to the grapes.
Oh, he tried that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether it tasted any different, but it's interesting. He was in real alternative thinking.
It probably had some fact, right?
Well, it's a law of vibration, right? We live in an energy matrix. We're not even.
We're just talking about.
We're not even solid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where this table appears to be solid, it's just relatively solid
Yeah.
compared to my finger. That's why it won't go through it. But lots of things are going through that table: X-rays and magnetic rays and telephone signals and everything. Right. So everything is.
The lower the vibration, the denser it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the table is low vibration.
Yeah.
Wait, let me write that down.
And we're kind of vibrating much higher. So.
So I was good.
You brought up vibrators, not me.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, vibrations. Sorry. Yeah. So if you think of life as an energy matrix, almost anything is possible. It just takes the eradication of doubt and fear to achieve what we think of as miraculous things. I'll give you an example. When I was living in Bordeaux, I had a lovely dog. His name was Bingo, and he developed cancer, abdominal cancer. So I had two kids growing up with me then. They're now grown up adults, and they loved the dog. We took them to the vet, and the vet said, "Oh, you have to, if we're too ill, you have to inject and kill them." And my kids were crying. I thought, well, we'll take him home, with us for a bit. So at the time, I was studying. I was part of an institute called the Alice Bailey Institute. I'd already worked with the Geldof Institute in London for 15 years, but when I moved to France, I couldn't find an institute or anything like that. So I studied as an international student for Alice Bailey, and she did a series of channel books. One of them was called Esoteric Healing, and there's a technique in that book for actually healing almost anything. Mm-hmm. And it's to do with visualization of golden triangle of light. Mm-hmm. You do it with breath. I won't go into too much detail anyway. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of meditation and writing and studying, and I was kind of intensely into spiritual work at the time. So my dog was probably 2 weeks off of death, and he'd lost all his fur. He was a red setter, so all his fur fell off. He looked like a pig, he's all pink, and he's laying on the floor. He had no energy, and so one day I thought I had a particularly good meditation. I thought I'm going to go and try something on this dog that I've read studied in this book by Alice Bailey. So I sat down next to him on the floor. I put one hand on his solar plexus, the other hand on his head, and I closed my eyes and I started to visualize the golden triangle of light. Essentially, it connects three chakras: the crown chakra, the heart, and the third eye. Mm-hmm. And you imagine it as a kind of a triangle thing, and the light gets stronger and as you breathe. And so anyway, I was proceeding, doing this meditation and this visualization. Suddenly something which I can only explain, I thought of it as a miracle at the time, but I know what it is now, is I experienced a huge flash of blue light. It was circular. It went right through me and right through the dog. It was like a lightning flash, but it just went bang. I jumped off the floor with the energy, and my dog jumped off the floor too. And I've since found out what it is. It's in the shaman tradition. Mm-hmm. When the person or an animal or anything is about to die, the soul gets ready for departure. Mm-hmm. And it hovers away from the body, mm-hmm. ready for the big moment. The shaman, with certain techniques, with using drums and I won't go into shamanism now; it's a big subject. But they can bring that soul back in, if the circumstances are right. When the soul re-enters, there's a huge blue flash of light. So I didn't know that at the time. I was just sitting next to my dog, and it's bang. And of course, I totally lost my concentration. What the WTF was that?
Yeah.
And I just sort of got up and just got on with. Anyway, the next day, my dog started moving around. He's trying to get some water to drink, and then a week later, he was eating again. And then 2 weeks later, his fur was growing back, and then within a month, we were running around the vines together, and he lived for another 2 years.
Wow!
So that's a true story. I'm not making it up. It sounds like a fictitious story.
Well, it's an amazing story.
And I understand now that when you tap into the energy matrix of life, the creative force of the universe, almost anything is possible. You just have to believe that you can do it. It's fear and doubt that blocks us from being divine beings. So,
that's right.
So we have that. We all have that potential, and that's why I say in my songs. Every song I write has a pointer to that possibility, that great possibility that we have of living the miraculous life mm-hmm. on this planet.
If I could just add to that too, I mean, you mentioned the solidity of the table, and we're getting down to things like quantum physics and that sort of thing, right? And then, of course, one of the other things about quantum physics is the whole Schrodinger's cat scenario, where the cat has a 50% probability of being dead or 50% probability of being alive, and you don't know what it is until you actually go look at it. It's hidden, right? Do you know?
I've never heard of that. So I know that quantum waves respond to being observed.
Right. So this is that observation. So, but until it's observed, there's a 50% probability of it being either dead or alive. So the way quantum physics looks at it is both of those kind of exist. Both until you observe it, then you collapse the wave function and you get one observation.
Is that like a parallel universe theory?
It's
where
they say
realities?
that the answer that it's the many worlds theory is that there's one world where the cat is dead, there's one world where he's alive. But in another healing scenario, I'm just talking about a situation with my dad. Was the doctor? They found some kind of evidence that there was some cancer in his, bladder or something like that. But then they were going to go and do another test to confirm it. So there was a period of time before that test was going to happen. So I looked at it like the Schrodinger's cat. Cat was both dead and alive. In other words, my dad had cancer and he didn't have cancer, right?
Yeah.
And then so in that interim period, this is where you can try whatever techniques you might have, including things like prayer and all that kind of stuff, right? And then so if you do something, you take some kind of action, and then you're priming the universe for when that observation is actually made to have it work out with the outcome that you want.
Yeah, you're choosing. In other words, you're pointing it to another reality.
Yeah.
And reality is based. I actually think love has a big part to play in all this. And it's hard to define what love is, but I believe that love is kind of an energy that comes. It's almost like the sun for me is the symbol of love for our solar system.
And you see what Chris said earlier and what you said, your mind only saw that one focus of it being alive or being fixed or being healed, and you didn't have doubt or fear crowding you, and that's how that line became a direct line from you and the universe to open up to have you receive that. And the problem, I think, in our world today is we get jumbled by self-doubt and fear, or we get
power.
Beaten down by other people and their comments that it can't be done.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do that, and then again, you start having that inner chatter, which is negative and self-doubt and all that stuff. So
we tend to believe ourselves into sickness.
Correct.
We think we're
correct.
It's
like
if
anything.
you start thinking you're ill, or start thinking there's something wrong with you, then there's a very good chance that will actually happen.
Whenever I have somebody say to me, I can't do that, I'm going, you're right. Because they've already, that's the way they're thinking. I'm not going to change their mind. You know? So.
Well, it's been,
give up that easily,
I
do you,
do.
Veronica?
No. I've learned to give up very quickly in that area, yes.
Sorry, Chris, what were you saying there?
Yeah.
No, I'm just going back into history. I'm just trying to think when all this happened. I think it's been a lot of programming into self-doubtfulness has been caused by certain greedy corporate people that I won't name the institutions because I don't want to get into that subject right now. But I think many like for example, in the Middle Ages there were a lot of natural healers around, herbalists, but a lot of those herbalists were terminated, killed, and they're called witches or whatever. So we have a lot of.
And it was all plant-based.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have a lot of baggage on us, and I believe I've written a musical called The Age of Awakening, and this is the subject of this musical.
Is this the one you're working on?
Yeah.
Now?
The Age of what was it? Sorry.
Age of Awakening.
Oh, Age of Awakening. Oh,
Yeah. So I believe we are actually in the Age of Awakening now because it's the first time in hundreds of years that many things are possible. For example, having this conversation is now possible. If we'd been having this conversation 200 years ago, we would probably get arrested and tortured. And also the rise of the feminine power is now becoming evident, which is, in my opinion, it's about time, because there's been suppression of the females going on for thousands of years, and there still is in most cultures. But I think we're getting to a point now where the feminine power is beginning to arise, and I think it's very, very positive. I believe that females have been running this planet for known history. We've had far less wars and killing, and us guys are good at certain things, but we don't think laterally, and we don't appear to have much respect for life, except with the exception of you and other. There's a lot of guys who are now beginning to discover their feminine nature. So it's not all about just winning and getting the animal with the bow and arrow. It's about environment too. So I think the feminine nature is arising in men and women. So it's always been there in women, but
we all have yin and yang in us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's coming out more.
Yeah, it's been like a ton of yang and hardly a tiny little bit.
Exactly.
So we that's what the Age of Awakening is about. It's the fact that I really believe that we're in a really important transition now, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I'm so happy to be alive at this time in history, and I think it's. I think we're going to see great changes, and of course with great power and energy that's coming to this planet, it can be perceived and manifest in different ways according to the type. So it can manifest as aggression, so you can have increase in wars. It can manifest as compassion and gratitude and consciousness, which we see happening a lot.
Or some people are saying both are kind of happening at the same time, right?
Yeah,
a lot of things.
It's the same energy, but it's manifesting according to the being that it's being received by.
Right.
So at a time of great crisis, you also have a time of great growth, the spiritual growth too. It's a kind of a paradox, but it's the same energy, just vibrating in different people according to their disposition. So I think I think we're in a really exciting time. We're seeing a lot of conflict, and I think the conflict is indicative of a rebirth we're going through as a society, as a humanity is going through a rebirth. So I'm a kind of eternal optimist, and so my musical is about that. It's about the fact that we are in a wonderful position. We're in the age of awakening. We are beginning to waken up in spite of ourselves. And it points to certain crossroads in humanity where really important things happen. For example, scene 5 is about the Chinese invasion of Tibet. Now that was a really negative part of our history, where the Chinese went in there. This is our motherland. We don't want this Tibetan culture. They slaughtered monks. They destroyed monasteries and made lots of fake promises. And so that was a really negative thing. The Dalai Lama had to leave Tibet secretly and live in exile in Dharamsala in northern India. But every stick has two ends, or every coin has two sides. Right? The thing that came about from that particular instance was that there began to be a bridge between the East and West.
We probably would have never heard of it.
We never heard of yoga or meditation, all that stuff.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened. Yeah. So
or his wisdom.
So there is something really bad happened, and something. It's like you said, the yin and yang thing. This balance, the balancing forces have brought out the good side of that, which is the fact that we have more access to consciousness than we ever did. We didn't even know what the word was before. You know? So I think that's really that's in my play. So that's one of the things that's in there. And I've written a song called "Top of the World," which is about the whole scenario.
Now, so you're still working on it, though, right? Are you?
Yeah, the script's taken. I've written the music ages ago. I've been doing the music for 10 years, so that the music's all done. But I've had a lot of trouble with the script. I took on some script writers in Vancouver, and they didn't really understand the real principle of the play. So I've had to break it down again and literally start again. I sent the script to Buffy Sainte, and she said, "I hate it." She said, "It's full of because it was originally it's based on Adam and Eve, arriving 35,000 years ago on a spaceship to integrate the human race and uplift the consciousness of the human race, which is in the Arancha book, which is I find it fascinating.
Oh, the Arancha book.
Yeah, the Arancha book is a book that was channeled in the 1930s.
Yeah.
A guy went into a coma, and his wife couldn't wake him up one night, and he subsequently, every time he went to sleep, went into a deep coma. So she asked the Sadlers, who were spiritual debunkers at the time, Sadler family, you can Google them, they're quite famous. She asked him to go over and investigate because she thought he was possessed by a demon or something. And he started talking like this incredible, this unbelievable stuff about how the universe functions, what all the angels do, and how their jobs and how it all formed. And they said this guy could not know this information, so they went with a stenographer and they worked with him for 10 years, and that's how the Urantia book arrived on this planet. So I wanted to base my musical on the ideas in the Urantia book, but I've kind of moved away now. I'm going into parallel universe idea, which we talked earlier.
Very cool.
Yeah, because I want it a bit like Back to the Future. You know where he goes back with a sports almanac and he just briefly changes the whole course of the planet's change just from that one thing. I want to use that idea in the musical. So to answer a long answer to your question, yes, it's not finished yet. It's still developing.
Still working on it until it's kind of perfected.
Yeah, but I'm going to do. I'm recording an album now of all the music, and because I've done the music over the last few years, but some of it's on analog 24 track, and it's like it's kind of a sort of chronological differences, right?
Right.
According to technology, I have really great technology now for music, so I'm redoing all the tracks to sound like they were done on stage in live theatre, choirs, and then I'm doing the Age of Awakening album, and I'm going to use that as well as a kind of calling card for the musical.
Okay, great. So when do you expect the album will be out?
I'm going to finish it by the end of this year.
Okay.
I've already started it. There's a track called Men from the Sky, which is about the Columbus first contact with the First Nation people. And that sounds like 100 times better than the original already. So I'm very excited about that.
Very cool. And then, of course, we're going to see the musical down at the Princess, whatever it is.
Wales.
What is it?
Princess of Wales?
We're talking to Mervish and some other people, but I'm kind of aiming for Broadway eventually. I want it to be big in the West End.
I love it.
It will be there. It's very unusual. The music is fantastic. I'm not saying it because I made it, but I've had such good reaction from the music.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be, if we just lock in the script with the music and the progression through history, it'll work really well now. And people are just going to go out and just think, I can really do something. So what we're going to do, the idea is to have in the foyer of whichever theatre is showing the musical, we're going to have environmental and green, people like you, hopefully in our foyer, and people are going to go out and say, I feel I can see something now. Maybe only one person will, but if one person does, it's enough for me.
It only takes one to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Something,
yeah,
right?
And the ripple effect, So, and they can actually go out there and actively sign up to something and get involved in something from that point onwards.
Like take an actual step towards making.
If you leave it till the next morning, after your coffee and you're late for work, and it's just gone, right? The idea's gone. So
plus, their energy's high too, right?
Yeah.
From just seeing this, they've been awakened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's
right?
kind of you're going to get them while they're hot, as they say. Yeah. So, how much time we got?
You're a busy guy.
Well, not that much time.
I wanted to talk about my video you're going to play. So.
Oh yeah, we've got it set up, ready to go. That's how we're going to end the show today. So yes, please tell us.
Well, it's I worked with a guy called Bob Geldof years ago. He's the guy.
I think I heard of that guy.
Yeah, he did Live Aid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he made a company with my ex-business partner Nigel Grange called U-Bloom, and they invited me to go out there and play in Dublin a couple of years ago for the U-Bloom Festival, and it was great. I love Dublin anyway. It's full of fantastic musicians. It's unbelievable. But there's I went into a bar for a Guinness and
get out.
as you do in Dublin for Jesus. So there was a sign above the bar and it said, "The Wi-Fi is broken. Try talking to somebody." And so it gave me an idea for this song because you mentioned the virtual world addiction that people appear to have these days.
Oh,
We have I've seen young couples sitting in a restaurant, both on their phones, texting, I don't know, maybe a lover or something, I don't know, or maybe even texting the person across. The art of conversation appears to have, gone down a bit, and so the sign saying the Wi-Fi's broken, talking to somebody is indicative of the times we're living in, right? Mm-hmm. So I wrote a song about this. It's not going to go on it might go on the Age of Awakening, because it's the last scene is about contemporary times. The song's called Tweet Me Right, and we did a video of it, and I was producing a band called Turbo Street Funk, who's a Toronto horn band, and I was doing an album for them at the time, and I asked them if they'd play on it, and they guested on it, and then we did a gig at the Horseshoe in Queen Street, and it was a really nice vibe. So the video's all about that.
Wait, are those the guys that they'll show up in any intersection and they'll start playing Michael Jackson, and the tuba guys doing the bass part? Yeah,
they got this guy with this big thing on his head. They play anywhere, and then the drummer has like a little side.
They play Black Eyed Peas and stuff, and it's all horns and brass.
And, they're nice people, and we did an album a couple of years ago, and they wanted to play on Tweet Me Right, because it's a horn.
Okay, so we're going to hear them now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, Chris, it's been great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Great conversation. We can come in here, we don't even need a plan.
No.
Hear all these great stories, and it's just amazing, right?
We talk forever.
So, and of course, people can reach you at chrisburkettmusic.ca, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So here's the song. What's it called again?
Tweet Me Right.
I love that.
Right. Okay, that's it for the show. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks, Veronica. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. And I think we're back tomorrow. So we'll see you at thatchannel.com.
You on your own. You're always playing with your phone. The world is out there for you to see. You never really notice me. Something's missing, something's lost. There's an act that counts the cost. Oh yeah. So just tweet me right. I will unfollow you tonight. Just tweet me right. I will unfollow you tonight. I don't want to be your virtual friend. Never touching, just pretend. If you can't stand it on your own, why don't you throw away your phone? The Wi-Fi's broken, it's a shame. So let's try talking for a change. Oh yeah. Just tweet me right. I will unfollow you tonight. Just tweet me right. I will unfollow you tonight.
Hey. That sounded good, guys.